Oh, wow.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
I have to apologize. I started the meeting, but it was the Board of Zoning Appeal meeting.
Mark,
Any meetings.
You got a minute?
I'm like,
yeah, working on, yes, if you got just a minute.
Yeah, hey, what's a good time to run down and grab the car? I'm gonna come down and pick it up.
if everybody would mute themselves, please, except for the Historic Zoning Committee.
Well, let's see, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Oh, my God.
I'll be,
All right. I had to play the Wizard of Oz there and cut somebody off. Louise, you appreciate that, don't you?
Why is my face not on this?
Hello there, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, another day. Doing good.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one when it's over, too.
I got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Why is my picture not on? Click it.
Do we have all our folks, Lyle?
Let's see. We've got Gavin, Jeanette, Bunny, you, and I guess, and we got Ron. Yes.
We got Ron. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. In that case, welcome everyone to the April 2021 meeting of the Historical Zoning Commission for Belmead. For the record, let's do a quick roll call. See who's here. Gavin Duke.
Here, present.
Bunny Blackburn.
Here.
Ron Ferris.
Present.
And Jeanette Whitson. She must be muted.
Yes.
Present.
and I'm Mal Wall. For those of you in attendance who might not have been through this lovely exercise before, take a few minutes to tell you what the procedures are going to be. Lyle will introduce each case. The applicant or the applicant's rep will then present their case for why their request should be granted. The commission will discuss with the applicants and the other participants and ask questions. Comments will be solicited from anyone who wishes to speak. If you do decide to speak, please identify yourself and your residence address. We will close once everyone that wishes to speak does speak. We will close the public portion And the chair will entertain a motion to approve, disapprove, or defer the issue. The commission will then discuss, deliberate, and debate among itself, modify and amend the main motion, and will then vote to approve, deny, or defer. So with that, Lyle?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I want to remind everybody we're using a auto transcription service. Try to speak into your microphone clearly. Do your best not to speak over the top of others. And for those of you that are representing, just call out the thumbnail. Once I share my screen, I'll get to it as quickly as possible. First item under old business is the application for a certificate of appropriateness for Province Builders, 903 Linwood Boulevard, construct a new single-family home. Demolition was granted at the January HCC meeting. Chris and John, you're up, and I will share my screen.
Okay. All right, this is Chris Goldbeck with Pichet Design, and I am back in the office this month, so hopefully my internet connection is better than it was last month. So I will just speak to the reasons for deferral from last meeting. Concerns raised centered around the overall height of the house, the space between the top of the dormers and the ridge, the roof form and volume of the back section of the house, the appropriateness of non-functional chimneys, and the shallowness of the roof pitch on the back porch. So we lowered the roof pitch on the main house from 14-12 pitch to an 11-12 pitch. This lowered the overall height from finished grade from 35 feet 3 inches to 31 feet 6 inches, so almost 4 feet. And it also reduced the amount of roof that there was between the top of the dormers and the ridge. On the back half of the house, we lowered the roof over the utility and stairwell to a 312 roof, as opposed to what had been a continuous hipped roof back there. And then we also, we changed the hipped roof to a gabled roof and lowered the pitch from 8.5 to 712, so that the back section of the house is more subservient to the main form. And in regards to the chimneys that are on the front of the house, we dashed those in as optional, and we'll follow the wisdom of the board here, but whether or not those are permissible or not, our preference would be to have those. I think it would be a nicer looking house in the street. I clarified with John Swift, the builder, and they will be brick, but we understand that if the board wants all chimneys to be functional, then we would remove those. And lastly, in regards to the pitch of the roof on the back porch, I was unable to raise that pitch because of the height restrictions at the back porch. So that remained at a 412 roof. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else in attendance who would wish to speak?
Yes, Stephen Mason,
Okay.
4301 Warner Place, next door neighbor. You know, the elevation from the basic elevation is going up 3 feet in the front, and we're concerned about maybe the amount of runoff rainwater that would send our way, since that house would now be substantially higher than we are next to it. And I don't know if that's been a consideration or not. And I was hoping that they'd put a curb on their driveway to maybe keep that water from running over towards us, since the house is being proposed to be raised 3 feet from natural grade.
Well, Mr. Mason, we on this commission can't address stormwater and stormwater management. That's a separate issue with the city. And Lyle, has the stormwater plan been made for this lot yet?
Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but understanding Mr. Mason's concern, I'll definitely red flag this and bring it to our city attorney's attention. The stormwater plan will take into consideration all contiguous neighbors around this property. So, Mr.
And-
Mason, thank you for your comment. I'll definitely flag that and send it to our engineer.
And can I get a point of clarification? This is Jeanette Whitson. For Mr. Mason's benefit, and this seems to be coming up a lot during our meetings. What are the appropriate avenues for concerned citizens that live around properties being developed to ensure that stormwater is being met? I just think we need to review this now because this continues to come up during our review and it is not part of our review. So maybe we can let people know right now, stormwater concern should, one, address you, come call you, email you. How should that be addressed by concerned citizens? What's the proper avenue?
Who is that directed to, Jeanette?
You, Lyle. I'm saying since none of us
Yeah.
really are supposed to comment on it, we end up spending a lot of time doing that. I
Yeah.
just want to make that really clear and
Yes.
how they should be addressing it, because obviously they don't know and maybe have never been told.
Well, anytime a home comes to the Board of Zoning Appeal, which would be for a violation of the ordinance or swimming pool, that's a good time to bring it up in front of the board. Just not that the Board of Zoning Appeal understands the process of stormwater, but that's a time to red flag it, the concern. Single stormwater plan that is submitted, it's already flagged as a concern for everybody. Our major concern pertaining the first 1 inch of rainfall and really releasing that in a controlled effort to everyone around it. And when you have a stormwater plan, it's when you do a new home, a swimming pool, a large addition, or if you're close to a stream, it's an automatic stormwater review.
Good.
When someone is building a new home, well, now that you come to the historic zoning, people can join and just express a concern, just as simply as Mr. Mason did. That's the process. It's a lengthy process once that concern is brought up. It could be anywhere from a month to 5 months as far as the review process. So that's the proper way to voice concern, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you for reviewing that.
Well, but one thing I think your commission does have authority of is the house being raised 3 feet above grade and the effect of that.
Can I ask a question just for refreshment here? Can you tell me the architectural style of this house?
Yes, it's French Norman.
And can you define that for us? What makes it?
Yep. So within various regions of France, there is some variation in the different styles that you'll find in that country, and a lot of it has to do with the geopolitical dynamics of the area. So, for example, in southern France, it may take on more of a Mediterranean feel.
This house,
the Norman side, yes. So
can you
with
tell me this house, what makes it that style?
yes. So having the gables reflects more of the English influence that is consistent with the history of Normandy, and that there is a little bit of a blending between the two cultures and styles. Oftentimes, French houses have hipped roofs, but this has a gabled roof to be in keeping with that style.
Do you have an example of the brick that's going to be used for this house? Is that in the packet, Lyle?
Chris, is that in the packet?
It's a
I see
mortar.
something, it says medium warm white mortar wash. It's a wash on the brick.
So is it going to be another white house then?
Shoji white. Can I see a side view of this? Is this the left side view again? There was a.
I didn't know
Yeah,
on that side. That was my question. The shutters on the right and the front, but they left them out on the left-hand side.
right.
And it's going to be viewed on Linwood from all three of those sides for sure. Chris, you have a problem with putting shutters on that left side elevation?
Don't, are you thinking kind of towards the front or the windows towards the back as well?
Just the windows toward that main body of the front.
Yeah, I'd
Unless
be fine with
Jeanette,
that.
do you have any other comments?
Anyone else care to speak?
I would like to comment to the neighbor that asked about the grade raise being in our overview. It is in our consideration as we look at it from a style standpoint, but the grading and drainage will all be part of the stormwater plan. So if they've raised the grade such that it's going to not pass stormwater, that will come back through stormwater review. Would that be accurate, Lyle?
That is correct.
Lyle, what is it if you change grade more than 30 inches? Is that part of stormwater or is that part of your grading and BZA approval?
It would be both. It's really a matter of BZA approval, but then you've got to pass stormwater after that. So you've got two hoops to get through, if you will.
And I can't quite see this, but where does the, you have a 40-foot maximum height, and where are you measuring that from? And I know the house doesn't reach that, and that's what I also want to ask. How high is the house with this 3 foot? And where are you measuring the 40-foot height from?
That's the dashed line in front, which is the average elevation of the front setback.
And how high does the house sit right now? 33.2?
Correct.
Okay. So it's well under the 40-foot allowable by code, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 33.2 from that average natural rate, then, Chris. Is that what I'm reading?
Correct.
Because it looks like
It'd be
that's
about
about
31 and a half.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I personally like it without the chimneys on it. It just seems like it's a lot more of a clean design.
I agree with Gavin.
Taking those off.
Particularly if they're faux, they're not necessary.
Do we need to make that part of this approval, since it says optional on there, Bunny?
Oh, we can let Lyle deal with it, I think.
Well, we can say we'll approve it without them, is what you're asking, Gavin,
Okay.
yes. We can make it a caveat of approval.
All right, I should have made that question of the chairman. Apologies, Mal.
No worries, no worries.
The
So,
little, can I ask a question?
sure.
Little windows that are recessed on the
What
back
elevation are you looking at?
front elevation.
Okay.
So this, never mind. I think I just answered my own question. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, so let's close the public portion, and the chair will entertain a motion to approve the design with the modification of removing chimneys.
Are we open for discussion now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can discuss it, Bunny.
Yeah, Mr. Mason's comment about it being 3 feet above grade, it does seem tall because that lot is a little taller too, relative, particularly to his house, which is to the right of it. Why does it have to be 3 feet up? That seems to be a lot.
It probably has to do with the basement. We've closed the portion. Do we need to open it back up to ask Chris a question?
We can do it if the board consents to reopen, sure.
Yeah, Bunny, do you want to ask Chris
Hey,
this
can you-
question?
Chris, can we talk about that? Because it does seem to be high on the lot and it's already just where, how that lot sits on the street, it's higher and that, it's kind of the lot is built up already. So it just seems like it's gonna be kind of tall.
How high is the basement ceiling?
It is 9 feet.
How
So-
tall are the ceilings on the main floor?
10 feet generally.
Yeah, that's pretty tall for a supposed
Chris,
cottage.
if you were to take a dimension from the top of that ridge down to the garage elevation, what is that dimension?
Well, look at the topo at the front elevation to the back elevation. That'll give you the footage to add to the 33 too.
We are. Good. I think it's just shy of 40 feet from the main ridge to the garage slab.
Right, so it's 40 feet. So you're still under the 40 feet, even in the back slope.
Correct. And I guess if I can answer the question about the grading. So the way that we position the house is set back 15 feet from the front setback because the grade does kind of fall a little more precipitously as you get back on the lot. And so we pushed it back and kind of set the garage elevation based on the lower areas there. And then, went from there. So we're building up the grade a little bit in front. On the front elevation, you can see the difference between the solid grade and the dash line there. We are building it up a little bit just kind of based on past projects with the board. We heard a desire for there to be less steps at the front. So I built that up accordingly, but nothing that isn't with it, falls outside of what's allowed with the zoning ordinance.
I think it would be more attractive if it were not 3 feet, if you didn't have to walk up 3 feet to get in the front, to the front porch. And
Mhm.
I think that, those are tall ceilings for supposedly this cottage style house on the first floor. That's a big basement ceiling, high basement ceiling, high main floor. What's the third floor?
9 feet.
Yeah, that's a lot of height there. And I think if you could lower it in the front, it would be a more attractive house. I think it's going to even look taller than 3 feet.
I'm going to disagree, Bunny, with you. I think 9 and 10-foot ceilings are very appropriate for building this day and age. They're not 12-foot ceilings. They're not 11-foot ceilings. And this is a walkout basement. And I just disagree with you on that.
Also, Chris, that dimension of that back porch
Yes.
ridge down to the garage level, if the other one's 40, I guess, is that one less than 25 or is that just poking right at 25?
It's at 24 feet. There's a
Okay.
dash line above the porch there that shows where the 25 feet measurement is. That's why I wasn't able to raise that roof pitch at all.
Your 40-foot height comes across, but then you just mentioned that your 40-foot garage from ridge down was 40 feet. So just making sure I got the right dimensions.
The 25 feet is measured from the grade at the rear, and the 40 feet is measured from the grade at the front setback line. So
Okay.
it's a little confusing for sure.
So your back is at your 25. Yeah, you have to keep the back of it 25.
Mm-hmm.
According to the back set. So I do understand that. And you have not submitted, and we're not required to, but is there a landscape plan? Sometimes although that is not required, it does help everyone envision the final look for a house, especially when there is going to be a, foundation that will be covered by plants. Is there anyone that can speak to that? Do you have something planned already for foundation plantings that will not show this 3-foot elevation or help to disguise it?
Yeah, I know that I've submitted the drawings to the civil engineer to work on the stormwater and grading plan. John, I don't know if you've engaged a landscape architect yet.
No, we haven't engaged anyone but the civil engineer at this point for fear of not knowing, what was going to be approved or, the overall footprint, once we finally got through. So no, we have not engaged a landscape architect or designer for this.
And can you speak to that? Would you be putting it in, or would the homeowners be putting that in?
No, we would have to put it in.
I guess, Lyle, is there minimal requirements for this? Or should we tie some stipulations for the landscape?
If they're not coming to the Board of Zoning Appeal for an overage and a grade change, then yes, I think I would tie a stipulation into that.
But I'm just listening to Bunny and to Jeanette and thinking that if you guys are willing to, with your submittal that Lyle could review, have a landscape that might reduce that sort of 3-foot bulk that they're referring to.
I think, board members, this opens discussion about the level of site plan we're seeing versus the level of site plan I think is going to be required for this thing to pass through stormwater and address some of Bunny's aesthetic comments, as well as just a broader aspect of how the front of that house will knit itself into its landscape. And respect the applicant's comment about not wanting to take that forward until he kind of knows stylistically about the project. I think when a closed hearing, we can probably all discuss that, but I think there are things that could be addressed in its planter walls that might help the filling component from average natural grade up to the proposed finished grade. I have found that a nice dimension to set off finished grade to finished floor ranges in that 24 inches to 48 inch range. That gives a house a base and a platform to set on, but how it then knits itself back into a fill component and the view from the street becomes vitally important. I think Chris has done some of that with that front garden area or the walls that help create that. I could make an argument that those embrace around the side of the house to help mitigate maybe some of the height. I'm not troubled by the height. When you look at some of the applicants' pictures, there's houses on similar streets that have this height or more. But I would be, I can't see, there's not a final grading plan. There's only existing topography. So the board can't tell what final grade's going to do, nor can Lyle advise if he's exceeding the maximum grade change, which I believe starts at 21 inches. Does it not, Lyle?
The building envelope, it is up to 3 feet, a total of 4% of the lot.
It's around the sides of this that they may be getting into some need for looking at grades. So could we tie some of our comments to that? I think we could.
And I agree with Ron. I didn't have concern with the height. I was trying to flesh this out to make Bunny feel more comfortable, because we are looking at a stark rendering, without the benefit of a landscape plan that lessens that. I would be, I would want to approve this with some type of understanding that there would be landscape planning to minimize the impact of the raised foundation walls. Whether that's a height,
With that, I think it would be the
Yeah.
screening for Mr. Mason. What do you think about that? Because you got, if you look at the site plan, there's a strip of grass that faces Mr. Mason's house.
I agree.
And I'm more concerned, the front is okay for me, but the side that we have a 40-foot dimension that's coming into this garage, he's already uphill from Mr. Mason and he's looking down into his property. So that strip that's in between the drive, I mean, I would like to at least see some benefit for planting to happen there for the neighbor that doesn't have quite as much of an impact.
I agree, Gavin.
I was also thinking maybe something like, I'm in a bathtub, I'm in a bathtub, I'm in a bathtub.
What the heck?
Who is that?
Wow, I think we've been pirated.
I think we have a hacker.
Wow.
Anybody wanting to get on
that's not the
in
next
on the
presentation, I
historic
hope.
committee really doesn't have much of a life, do they?
Well, the chair will entertain a motion for approval with modifications,
Can I,
landscaping and the additional shutters.
Bonnie, did you have something you wanted to say?
just the roof material change, why he changed the roof material on that one section? It looks like there's a metal roof on Mr. Mason's side in one section. Can you go back to the roof plan?
I can
I think that's
address.
just a copper shed. Right?
It
Yes.
says metal roof.
What's the material? Yeah,
I have copper on the exterior finish options B. I think that looks pretty.
And it's pretty
Yeah, I
high
don't
up
see
there as
copper.
well.
That's high. That's a shallow roof. It's a 312.
But it is going to be cedar shake though. Just make sure we got that in the approval.
Cedar shake the whole roof. That's what's on the material list.
Right.
so that's a 312. Okay.
I think the exterior finish, that presentation looks very good.
I will tell y'all, I continue to be concerned just at the height of this relative to the other houses. And I'm just trying to envision if there are any others that are 3 feet above, just with the topography of this lot, if there are any that you go up that on the whole street. So that's a concern for me because I just think it's exacerbated on the side with and that's why it's 40 feet. I mean, 40 feet tall is he's way above Mr. Mason's house.
But 40 is allowable, Bunny, and until the municipal planning commission decides they're going to
I know.
until they're going to do a case by case for different lots.
Yeah, but it's still,
You
I
know.
look at other houses on the street too and heights of those.
Al, are you looking for a motion?
Yes, I was.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with the stipulations of the landscape, the shutter on the, I think it's the left elevation. And
Mhm.
was there one more? What was the other one?
Chimneys
Yeah,
that
take
we're going
the
to
chimneys
eliminate.
off and make sure it's cedar shake shingles.
And let's make sure it complies with the exterior finish option list that was presented.
That's my motion.
Yeah, and I'm going to second that motion.
All in favor, Gavin,
Aye.
Bunny,
No,
Jeanette,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Mal votes aye. So Lyle,
First item under new business is the application for a certificate of appropriateness for Anthony Tabacoli, 510 Park Hill, for demolition of existing home, which is property of significance.
Yes,
Is that you, Anthony?
it is.
All right, if you'll call out whichever thumbnail, I'll pull it up for you.
Call out the thumbnail.
Can you see your screen?
I can.
Okay, I'm getting ready to share. And there you go.
All right. Should I go?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me be up here. I'll be very brief. I know the owner of the property is also online with us. If he has a comment or two, I think he may. But generally, I've got this property under contract with the owner. In its place, I plan to build new construction, single family home, highest quality that will blend with the character of Belmead. The subject property is approximately 2,600 square feet. It's on about an acre, a little over an acre. The original part of this house was about 1,770 square feet, built in 1925. Now in the 80s, there was an addition done about 900 square feet that also included a garage. So, you know, about a third of this thing was done, was added in the 80s. The exterior material is a combination of wood and concrete board siding. The ceiling heights are just a little bit under 9 feet. The garage ceilings are about 7.5 feet high. It's in my opinion, again, it's my opinion, this is a modest structure, appears to be in average condition, but does not seem to blend with the architectural character of Belmead. And I was asked to give my opinion, and that is my opinion. Mr. Hassel, do you have anything to add?
Yes. We think that we live on an estate property with a non-estate house. It's basically an expanded cottage. And Anthony, I've been looking at the schematic, and I think 500 feet on the first level may have been added in the 80s. But then this big addition in the back added about another 1,000 feet. So 500 up in the front corner and 1,000 in the back. And then there's 1,300 feet that are in the basement. So about a third of the square footage in this property is in the basement. That's one of the reasons we bought it, because it fit our budget with 2 teenagers coming, and that was fine for them to live in the basement. There's very little light down there. We have dreamed for many years of putting a better house on this property, and now at near retirement age, it's just not right for us to do that. It is a 2-plat property. And so we're all crunched on 1 plat. We're about 10 feet from the property line on the opposite side of the view that we have here, about 30 feet from the actual house of our neighbors at 508. So I think the requirements would be that a replacement would move to the center of the lot and conform more to the setbacks and the typical settings for estate homes in Belmead. So we've loved living here, but it's a beautiful view out the backyard, and somebody could have a really beautiful home to see it.
what is the size of the 2 lots combined, Mike?
It's 1.01 acres.
And are there 2 actual lots, or is this 1 lot in Belmead?
It was combined. I understand 2 owners ago were told that after they sold it that it could not be separated. And we actually at one time went to ask Lyle, could we build another home on the second lot? And the answer was no, it's combined. And you could only build 1 house on them together.
Okay, and so there is not a proposal for approval of a house, but you are wanting to build 1 house on this lot. Take this down and put a house in the middle of the lot.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public, any neighbors who want to speak to this on here? Okay, so should we begin our discussion?
Yes, let's close the public portion. And the chair will entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer.
Well, I will just say, I do think we should have a discussion of why or why we shouldn't approve it. I think it should be approved. I don't see anything excepting the date that it was built that makes it an architecturally worthy structure. I would defer to Ron to talk about, it has a cottage appearance to it, but I do believe has been altered over the years and does not, in my eye, seem anything worthy of conservation.
I'm going to
And
disagree.
I agree with you,
Jeanette,
Jeanette.
if I could, I'd like to disagree with Jeanette. I think it's a lovely cottage. I think the way it sits on the lot is very attractive. I think that this is a house from the 1920s. I understand there have been some changes. Very few houses make it 100 years without some changes. I think that it is lovely. I think it would be a great house to renovate. And I believe that preserving these old cottages, not every house has to be a big spec house in Belmead. And I think this could be a lovely cottage to be renovated. And I do not support demolition.
I guess my question would be for Lyle, do we have proof that this lot has been combined? I guess, is there something that is on the survey that has it as one lot then?
Well, this is a typical rubber stamp for the planning commission. A lot of these pieces and slivers are throughout Belmead. A lot of people think they own one lot, they've been paying property tax on one lot, but when you actually look at the Metro GIS, it's a couple of lots that combined. So we've been asking people almost monthly for several years now to combine these lots in order to close loopholes. So technically, it is one lot. I'm not sure if it's been combined, but that is a matter for the next owner and the planning commission. They cannot build two houses on the property.
I would make sure before we do any type of approval that we make sure that it is in the minutes that it's proven that it is a one lot that's been combined. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Well, I think it's non-conforming the way it is at the moment. I know it is a sort of a cottage that's been added on to, but I think that for the future, it would be more conforming with the setbacks if it were demolished and brought more to the center to provide buffer for the neighbors.
I've been by the house and I've been aware of the house. I've worked on this street over the years. I worked on the all stone house across the street from it years ago. As a study of craftsman bungalow, I don't find it having the checking many boxes that I would put into a category of significance. I don't see exposed rafter tails. It appears as if it's had multiple improvements over the years, replacement windows, replacement siding. I'm struggling, and I've been by it since the application was made just to look at it. I haven't walked around it because that's something I need to ask in advance, but the addition is not a complement to the original structure, in my opinion. It's utilitarian as a bungalow in my viewpoint. I think we're looking at the addition, which is on the right side. One thing that I think the board so chooses, I mean, we could go through the list that places it in the category of significance.
I think we should go down the list to be thorough.
And I might say that, are we still in a public hearing, Mal, or are we closed?
No, I think we're still public.
Has anybody is anybody here to speak in addition to the applicant and the current owner?
If not, let's close the public portion and the chair will entertain a motion for approval of the demolition.
I would.
So,
Well,
any discussion?
I think we want to go through the list just to make sure that we're being
We
thorough.
make the motion first and then we do the discussion.
Oh, okay.
I would make a motion to defer.
Okay.
And my reason for that, unless we want to make a vote on it, but my reason for that is I think it's upon the applicant to submit to the board to go through the list that we have to make his case that is not a property of significance. I'm open for discussions from the board members, but I think we've had this conversation before in that it's not upon us to make the applicant's case.
Is there a package included with the submission? Wow.
This is everything.
Okay.
We've got pictures of adjacent properties, the current property, a letter, and a site map. Strictly for demolition approval.
Ron, make a motion to defer.
Ron did. You may second it.
Yes, I would like to. I second the motion to defer.
Jeanette, do you want to do the listing?
No, if we're going to defer, I think that's what Ron was saying is that
And let the
they
applicant do it?
probably need to,
Okay.
that they need to do that instead of us.
Okay. So Gavin?
May I add that there is a part of the package that goes through the criteria on page 4 of the application?
The board would like to open it back up for him to make a presentation. I would entertain that.
I would second that.
I would,
Mr.
I
Chair.
would agree.
Consent of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, you want me to lead this? Generally, properties built prior to 1939. And it clearly was. Does it possess integrity of design, materials, workmanship, setting, location, and association as defined for eligibility for listing in National Register of Historic Places? Probably not. Does it embody other qualities and characteristics that in our judgment should be considered significant to the history and architectural context of Belmead?
I don't think so.
I disagree. I just think it's a very nice cottage in a cottage area of Belmead. So I think it is, it represents an important period in our history and just the development of Belmead.
Okay,
So I think it does make that.
so we'll list that one as a neutral. Is it listed or determined eligible for listing in a National Register of Historic Places? So, according to the statute, it has to meet all 4 of those items we just went through, plus one of the following 5 or 6. So at this point, is there discussion with the board on how we can make it meet a couple more of these bullet points? If not, the chair will entertain a motion for approval of the demolition.
I will make a motion for approval of the demolition.
Is there
I
a
would
second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that, Gavin.
Okay, so let's have a vote. Gavin,
Aye.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Mal votes aye. Bunny,
No.
thank you very much. Lyle,
Next item under new business is the application for a certificate of appropriateness for William Frank, 1108 Nickel Lane, for demolition of an existing home property of conservation and construct a new single-family home. Billy, if you're on here, or whoever's representing, you're up. Whoever's representing for 1108 Nickel, are you here?
I'm here. This is Champ Webb, but I believe Billy is on there as well. Should be. So
He's not, I don't see his name. Oh, there he is, but he's not.
okay. Yeah, he just texted me. He was trying to reload. I think the mic had dropped out, so he may be in there now.
He is still muted. Did you want to represent for him?
Just give it a second. He said he's trying to reload. He just texted me, so I was going to kind of let him lead with it and see everything he wanted to discuss on it first. So.
Grading plan or any lot information?
Mr. Chairman, what did you want to do? Did you want to move on and come back, or what's your suggestion?
do we have, what's next on our agenda?
Westview.
Westview. No, let's give him a minute or two.
Okay. Champ, are you still there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, would Billy be calling from a 901 area code number?
Yes, he would.
All right, I'm going to admit this one.
Okay.
Billy, are you there? Billy, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Is that you, Billy? Go ahead.
Okay, I apologize about that. Okay, so let me give you guys an update, if you don't mind. I've been watching this and going through it. Champ, I did hear you on here. Appreciate you guys. We have got a certificate of appropriateness application in for 1108 Nickel. I think, Lyle, you are going to the applications or going to the different attachments. If we could go to the certificate for a second, I'll kind of go through that and then give you guys an update on where we are and let Champ talk about it, because we do have a plan in there as well. This is a to be purchased piece of property by Danny and myself. We are obviously local builders here in the market. This particular property that we are purchasing, I think next week, was built in 1951. It's a traditional style red brick house. It is in somewhat disrepair. It's not uninhabitable. It is of the times when obviously when those houses were built. Jay Fulmer, directly next door, recently came through this committee and is currently under demolition, if not all the way demoed, on his house to the left of ours. The ceilings on this house currently are about 8 foot. It's got a renter in the house. The property was purchased approximately 3 years ago by an individual that we now have it under contract for. We've been working with a gentleman and his family on a custom house that we have designed for them. Champ Webb CW Design has been the architect on that. That has been included in the package for your viewing. We do anticipate, and this is newer information, that that plan may change to an extent. Therefore, I think we're probably asking just for a demolition at this point in time, but we're happy to, Champ, turn it over to you and let you kind of discuss what our intent is with the future of this lot in terms of style, in terms of everything that goes along with that as well.
Yes, and
Well, wait, let me stop you for a second. I think we probably need you to present your application for the certificate of appropriateness for demolition.
Okay, and that's not a problem as well. I think we would be in the same position as the previous address on this particular site, as well as Jay Fulmer, who is our direct next door neighbor. The house, we do have pictures of houses up and down the street. There's several. Again, this one is in somewhat disrepair. It's currently rented, and there is, nothing wrong with it from its time in terms of 1951 build. However, there is a lot of significant disrepair to the property. And, I think you go through the list again, if that's what you guys choose to do, and we're in the same general position as the previous applicant, as well as a Jay Fulmer.
Is there a completed package application?
Lyle will have to confirm that, but yes, sir, I believe there is.
Yes, they have their COA filled out completely. They have schematics, they have pictures, yes.
I think what I'm asking is what we asked the previous applicant to do, is to go through their certificate of application and present it to us.
Okay.
And that's only
I'm
for
happy.
the demolition, correct?
Correct.
I do not see the.
I just don't see it in my documents.
Billy, you want to comment on this?
There we go.
Yes, if you could tell me what specifically I may be missing, I'm happy to try to address.
It's filled out completely.
Okay, I see it now. I was just getting the first page before.
It may have had taken a minute to load.
Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak for or against this project?
And I'll just say a few words on the plans. I mean, kind of beyond demo, what we're planning architecturally for the lot, I mean, we're going to really try to keep to a very like classic kind of colonial Georgian architecture, probably do white siding, like real cedar painted white with brick or stone foundation. Most likely copper gutters. I mean, try to keep it very custom, high-end, classic design, you know, real fitting with the architecture of the neighborhood and community.
Okay, so let's close the public portion and board, what is our discussion?
I've been by the residence. It's a ranch, a simple ranch of not of high standard. I'm sure it was a nice house in its day, but I don't see it presenting a style that in my opinion, I'm deeming worthy of conservation.
Yeah, I went by it also. It's 50s ranch house.
I'm in agreement with both of you. I went
Okay.
by it and did not see anything that I felt was architecturally significant.
Well, is there a motion at this point to approve the demolition of this house?
I'd make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so let's vote. Gavin?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bunny?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
And Mal votes aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, so 325 Walnut.
No, we have another one.
Oh, good. I'm sorry.
So on this one, Mr. Chairman, are we not looking at the plans? It was just for demo. They're not presenting for a new home. Is that correct? Champ or Billy?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct.
All right. All right, next item under new business is the application for certificate of appropriateness for Dave Arnhold, 717 Westview Avenue to construct a single family home. And I will share my screen here shortly. This is on a vacant lot.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, this is Alex Darcinos. I think most of you guys were on the board from the last time we presented, maybe about 4 months ago. So it might be a familiar project to most everyone. We'll start, Lau, are you waiting for me?
Yes.
We'll start with the Westview project package, the fourth item here on the Google. So we'll just run through a little bit of the project and the style and the inspiration images along with our own renderings and the material package that we are presenting to you guys for the design. So currently the lot is right under 2 acres lot, and a lot of this information I think we discussed last time, and the conclusion was that there would need to be a little bit more particular choice of style and direction, and a little bit more information given to you guys in terms of the overall design package. So we've dived into developing the design closer to a particular style, and then also we've developed the project itself, which we'll show in a little bit in terms of details and materials, especially for Ron. I think Ron Ferris was asking for a lot of that kind of information. So to begin with, we've kind of selected or looked at how a Provence style of architecture could work with the design that we are trying to propose. So a lot of these images are from the south of France, and they show a lot of stucco, stone, steel windows or aluminum clad windows with these antique barrel tiles. and a lot of landscape to match and complement and work with the architecture. So the first 2 pages, Lyle, are just showing some inspiration images. Very soft architectural feel, close-up details of cornices that we are trying to implement as well, but we'll show that in our own. So the next images that we'll show are our renderings of the actual project. So this is the front facade at Westview, looking towards the house from Westview Drive, sorry. And right now we're proposing the front door that you see in the center to be an antique steel front door with a nice limestone coping. That's we have all the material hand selected and delivered from France, and we have them actually in our office that we're happy to share with anyone who wants to feel and touch the material. So we're gonna have a lot of this strong limestone details that are gonna brace in the facade and the window details. And then we have a larger window cut on the right side that accents in a spiral staircase, a plastered spiral staircase that rises up to the 2nd floor. A lot of the roof is going to be hand selected antique barrel tile also from France. And we'll show in a little bit later images, Cornice Detail, where the barrel tiles will roll right at the cap of the wall and the roof connection to kind of create a nice, very authentic, French Provence look. We're also proposing in that image, sorry, Lyle, just as you sit on it, I keep thinking more and more details. So in the last image, there's a pergola proposed with landscaping to soften some of the facade in the front. And then obviously we want to incorporate a very authentic, and it's not shown in this rendering, as renderings are always difficult to show everything perfectly for us, but a very authentic fountain from Provence, probably in the hexagonal style in the front as well. So the next image, Lyle, shows the rear facade looking from the neighboring lot in the rear. We have a pool that kind of braces the axis of the house, and we have a covered area that has arches that are softened, very much in the Provence style that embraces a covered area and also has large steel windows and doors behind it for the living room. We have a pool house proposed, and mainly the pool house is there to hide some of the rear garage of the lot that is right behind us. And without that pool house there, with no vegetation, the garage is kind of fronting this property. And as we try to create a very much of an oasis in the back, it's very important for us to kind of block and kind of shelter the pool area and the outdoor courtyard area. Again, with the barrel tiles, strong stucco, and working on the window arrangements as the main features. And we have shutters designed as well. We can go to the next image as well. It's the same space, just looking from the pool house back to the house, trying to incorporate a lot of landscape in like hydrangeas and Provence style with authentic vases and little features and stone around the pool as well. We can go on to the next images. So this is the site plan that was created by our landscape architect, showcasing the entryway, showcasing the pool in the back and the footprint of the house on the lot itself in the grade. The next image, we can just keep going through, is the floor plan. And the floor plan is changed slightly, but not as much as we expected after our first meeting. So we kind of toned in a lot of the comments and worked on the architectural mostly. The elevations, we incorporated the hipped roof that has a flat portion behind it, but still has an authentic look of, being a low gabled, low sloped. I think it's a 412 pitch hipped roof with those authentic barrel tiles all around. That's the main feature for the design and how that works with the stucco facade. This is the front elevation and the rear elevation. We can show in the next images, I think we're starting to show a little bit more of the materials. So these antique barrel tiles, like I said, we have a whole shipment of these already delivered to us at our office. The house in the bottom right is actually a house that the developers already completed and Texas. So it showcases again some of the details we're expecting to complete at this project as well. And the middle image, we're just really showcasing the antique barrel tiles for this page. The next page shows the cornice detail that will go around the entire building or entire house. So we're working on that detail currently with stucco and structural to make sure it feels authentic with a stucco facade. And all of the walls, if we notice on the floor plan too from before, we've doubly thickened all the walls. So we have at times over 2 foot of thickness on our wall thresholds to kind of create this very authentic feel. So the stucco will feel more like masonry stucco instead of, troweled on. Yeah, that showcases the masonry stucco with plaster finish. We want it to be, kind of Venetian in style, a little bit smooth, a little bit rough. We're doing another project like this currently with, not like this house, but with this kind of finish. So we know we can achieve it here. For the chimneys, I know those were also important aspect. We're looking at something a little bit more minimal with a limestone cap across the top and clay flues that kind of mimic and maybe are painted in the soft tone that the same as the stucco itself. The next slide showcases a little bit more of the these landscape walls that are going to be bracing the house around in accordance with a landscape architect. We designed a few retaining walls and moments that not only add a roughness at the base, but also are important for the elevation changes and the overall footprint. This showcases the windows. So some of the smaller windows, we probably will do more of a simulated steel window package. We're looking at something a little bit atypical. We're looking for more of a lighter window package, which is harder to find. So a beige or white or even a pistachio-ish color is where we're at right now to kind of soften the facade and not have any strong contrast. And the next image for the larger windows and for most of the operables, we're hoping to execute them out of steel. We know steel's very expensive right now, but we have some early bids back and we think we can achieve that with our current budget. So mainly some of these bigger units and then also the ones, especially in that formal living where you have this arch window that operates and it's a very important aspect to go in and out of the house. And again, will be done in the same color and tone as the smaller windows. We have 2 balconies from bedrooms up on the 2nd floor that we think will add some character to the interior courtyard on the front as well. And we're just showcasing how we're planning on achieving that. And we can see that in the details as well in the design package. This is about the door surround. So again, that project on the top is one that our team has executed in the past. And it's limestone that we're hoping to kind of bring similar type of limestone tones to this project. And the one on the bottom is more of a minimal limestone coping that we're looking at for the larger arch openings, the 2 on the front, one in the front, one in the back, but in the same tone as the other limestone. These half rounds hopefully will be done out of copper, and we are looking at expressing, and it's not shown specifically on this image, we can show it on the elevations later, but we will have more of a detached, I hope, a detached catch basin with a copper downspout that gives you more of an authentic look on the facade itself. And the half round will be above and will sit just at the roof detail. Gas lanterns, we actually also have somebody we're hoping to source these from or custom make them that we've done in the past, but we think it will bring a very authentic touch to a lot of these moments of stucco and limestone and the steel windows and having these gas lanterns expressed throughout the facade as well. These are obviously a little bit more of interior design type aspects of architecture, but I know it's important to mimic the style and the overall character of the building. The pergola in the front is a light steel pergola that we're hoping to be dressed in green and vines to soften up the facade, to put your focus on the main building, and then also to create a little bit slight privacy to the courtyard on the front, something a little bit delicate and natural and less constructed and less architectural and formal. So trying to play off this informality and this lightness to that aspect of the front facade. Ivy walls. So we're looking on the back facade, especially near the arched covered way, to have ivy on the outside, maybe running slightly into the interior to soften up some of the facade around the pool area, again, to utilize landscape as an architectural feature, to kind of work with it to create character on the building itself. Limestone tiles, very typically used here, I believe. So around the pool area, around the front courtyard, elements like that. The driveway, we are looking at a fine gravel. Again, I think quite commonly used in Belmead, with a edging of limestone or edging of a sharp edging with the grass condition. We're still exploring that detail currently. The next slide shows that fountain that we didn't express in the renderings in the front. So a hexagonal fountain that is a little bit more authentic and true to the Provence style. And the pool house and the water edge done out of strong stone, and how we're expressing that. So that's the accumulation of the material package. We also have the design development package that we can get into, but I think it'd probably be better to open it up for questions or more of a conversation. And I can show you specifically if there's more information that's needed for this particular project.
I would just like to say thank you for all the detail that you've presented. And I can tell that after you came before us last time, you really listened to all of our concerns and our comments and have addressed those. And I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I appreciate that, Bonnie. That means a lot for us, you know.
Very lovely.
I agree with Bunny. Absolutely addressed all the concerns. Lyle, can I ask you a question? I know this is a large lot. Are there any issues that will go before the BZA besides the pool?
No.
Okay.
We've
so
already had BZA approval, I believe. Is that correct?
that's my question.
Yeah, we went there first before coming to historic last time.
I just want to clarify that the materials sound amazing. I love them. You're saying a lot. We're hoping to do this. We're hoping to do this. So I just want to say that if we approve something with a specific materials list, you'll be held to that. And if you are going to deviate from that, you will need to go to Lyle for approval. You know, if you change from copper gutters, or if you change from, you know, full limestone and different materials. We love what you've presented, but just, we're going to hold you to it unless you can't come through.
And I think that was,
sure. Yeah.
that was expressed very vehemently last time too. And we've talked to others
Right.
who've also expressed that too. So yeah, we understand how important it is for us to get it right in our presentation, and also how important it is to make sure that we're all on the same page, you know, as far as if any changes are to be made.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think your landscape, adding a landscape design on this really helps to show how the house is going to sit within the lot and the landscape. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you. But we, to that point too, Lara, we have a design package that has a lot of wall package details. I know that was mentioned last time that we didn't showcase. I don't know if anyone wants to go through those quickly or see them, where we show specifically how.
Are you talking about Cornice details and?
Yes, window details,
I think that was mainly Ron.
Ron, do you want to see that?
Will the public be able to speak?
Yes.
Yes.
One, I compliment the thoroughness of his follow-up from our first meeting, and two, I find the cleanup and the development of it quite successful. I think I agree with Jeanette in that the and I know the applicant knows this, the success of the project is in the richness of its details. And so if it does find as it gets down the road that there are things that are going to be revised, I would ask the applicant to be sure to inform Lyle of that. And I think he'll let the board then know. So again, appreciate the thoroughness and the development of the details as requested.
You're on.
Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak for or against the project?
Is this the public comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. This is Louise Bryan. I live at 4314 Iroquois, corner of Iroquois and Westview, about a block down the street. First of all, a very extensive and beautiful proposal. Thank you so much for all the detail. It's really incredible, and I'd be proud to have this in my neighborhood. I did have a few questions about the philosophy of this type of home in Belmead. I appreciate the strong European elements in this design. I see a lot of French, a lot of Italian, and some other designs in there. I do think there's a strong element where there's some contrived pieces in here, and I'd like to get the board's opinion on the fountain in the front. I mean, at the end of the day, we do live in Nashville, Tennessee. We don't live in Europe. We live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I understand this is a 2-acre lot, and I just think a few things look a little contrived. I would start with the fountain in the front of the house. That's one question I had. The second question I had was about going to BZA first. I don't understand the process of going to Board of Zoning Appeals first. Is that something that's an option for certain builders, or is that just how this case was handled?
Louise, I'll try to get you an answer. They came in November, and I'm going to tell you why they came first. I think they chose to come first for a reason.
Can I comment on something to Louise while you're looking at it?
Sure.
Lyle.
Yeah,
One
please.
thing, Louise, I think, I'm sorry, can I go ahead? I appreciate very much. We really like to hear from neighbors, so thank you for putting the time to sit through this meeting and to comment on it. And I think that one thing, kind of as we were establishing the rules for this, we recognize that there is a broad range of different architectural types in Belmead, and though there are some that are really prevalent, like a Georgian, that there is value to having different architectural styles. And like I can think of the Perkins house has a fountain in front of it. I guess we won't be able to call it that forever because I understand that sold. But there are some precedents for that. When they first presented to us back in the fall, we did not feel like it fit in at all. It had a flat roof on it. It did not at all look like something that you should see driving down the street in Belmead. But I think he really did listen to our concerns, and I feel like that there are other similar houses in Belmead, and again, they don't all have to be Georgians. It is Belmead, but we do have several different architectural styles in the city, and we try to be open to that, if that helps.
Yeah, it does. And I'm going to speak later on in the meeting. I absolutely don't want to live in a city with a Georgian and Tudor. And I live in a Georgian house, I can say that. But I appreciate again the quality of materials and everything. I just I know this is not the first time this property's come before. I thought some pieces, and I'm holding off on some other thoughts I had, but okay, if you've already considered the fountain, I think that's fine. I trust that. I absolutely appreciate the quality of care taken into this. I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I probably should recuse myself from the vote. I think we did take it to BZA for the pool approval. We had a pool. I did the landscape plan, so I'm going to recuse myself from the vote. But it was just for the pool and the spa. There was no other issues with the house, and we had to get the approval for the fencing. It's an irregular shaped lot. And that was the reason that we took it to BZA. There was no house issues with that submitted.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else care to make a comment? If not, let's close the public portion of the meeting. And the chair will entertain a motion to approve the plan as submitted.
I'll second. That's Bunny.
I think you're first, Bunny, and then I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. Bunny, well, Bunny makes a motion. I'm brain cramp. I've been sitting here too long. Bunny makes a motion to approve the plans that are submitted. But I do want to qualify that with if there are any material changes, you'll let Lyle know, and he would let the board know.
I'll second that, Bunny.
Okay. Ron Ferris,
Aye.
Bunny,
Aye.
Jeanette,
Aye.
and Mal votes aye. All right.
I just want to say thank you. I'm checking out, so thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is the application of the neighbors of Walnut Drive, asking the Historic Zoning Commission to reconsider its decision granting the construction of 325 Walnut Drive.
Okay, Lyle, I have a couple of things to get out on the table first here. The commission has received a written request for an appeal. That is being treated as a request to reconsider. The chair has been informed by council that an oral presentation of the request is not required, but the commission will allow a short one for both parties. The public portion, but only of a rehearing. It's not the merits of the case. It's the motion will be, does the commission want to rehear 325 Walnut? The public portion would be closed. The chair will entertain a motion to rehear. And if it carries, the case will be reheard under the same procedures as a new case. In the public portion of that rehearing, anyone wishing to speak may do so, but please remember the commission does not consider stormwater or flooding issues. So with that, is there discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Haley Dale. Can I just clarify the process really quick? I'm asking, this is a question. Are you saying what you all are about to do is hear a short presentation from each side to decide whether or not you will in fact rehear? And then what, based on the outcome of that, you will have a longer, if it is voted that you will rehear, you would have a
Yes.
longer presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, it would be appropriate to hear from someone of the applicants to rehear at this time. If everyone understands.
So is this the public comment? I'm sorry. I don't understand.
This is the opportunity for the applicants to speak in favor and in support of their motion to their application to rehear the petition.
Okay, well, I would like to speak as a member of the public. So that I'm not an
Louise?
applicant.
Yeah, Louise, we need the applicant to make, if they want to, whatever oral presentation about the rehearing they want to do. And then we would ask that someone from Walnut, if they want to, make the case for why the commission should rehear it.
No, Mr. Chairman, when I meant the applicant, I meant the applicant to rehear. I meant, first of all, the neighbors from Walnut would have the opportunity to present their application to rehear. And then
Okay.
limited presentation on that, if you will, I think is appropriate.
Okay. So the neighbors may go first.
Mr. Chairman, is there a time limit?
How many people want to speak to this rehearing issue? Louise, for sure. Let's
I
see
think
what
maybe Lyle could determine how many people are on here, I think.
I think Phil said he was going to speak, but he
No,
was
I pulled what other novices do. I'm muted. I'm unmuted. Forgive me. My name is Phil Trella, and I have been asked to speak for the Walnut neighbors. And thank you for putting us on your agenda today. I know it's difficult, and particularly after listening for 90 minutes, I found it to be illuminating, and I certainly respect all that you do. My objective is merely to summarize what our appeal to you, and hope that you will consider our petition. You have had our document for 2 weeks with typos, and my defense is A, I'm an amateur, and B, I grew up in West Virginia. I'm gonna have typos and misspellings. Please forgive me. But in any case, the objective of Walnut is very simply to build a house that is harmonious with prevalent architectural styles of Belmead and avoid the damaging effects of the introduction of a speculative style. It sounds like I took that exactly from your playbook, which I have. And we find some examples of departures from this objective in the following, and it's the relative height of the house with grade towers over adjacent neighbors. And we look at it with the relative values vis-a-vis an absolute focus. Mr. Ferris has come back and tried to make some corrections. I'm not sure that they're sufficient. You have photographs of the relevant comparisons in the file. Second, the density of the coverage will likely be twice that of the previous home. And a 7,000 square foot home on 7/10 of an acre, when no other home that size on Walnut has less than an acre, is frankly problematic and inconsistent with the neighborhood. While I realize, the drainage and stormwater issues are separate, having a footprint that's large does have an impact, a significant impact. So, and then, ultimately, the position that we have is that notice was clearly deficient from my point of view. I got my notice the day after the hearing, and the citizens had no time to repair. Frankly, we didn't understand the level of sophistication of this group or the requirements on how to do it. And over the last 3 weeks, we've got a pretty quick study on how we had to do it to present alternative points of view for your consideration and meet the process standards. And then we also feel that there are some, as outlined in the document, the appearance of serious conflicts of interest, and very nervous about how that looks for the city of Belmead, and makes me apprehensive about any ultimate decisions. It's a serious cause for concern. Therefore, we ask that the prior vote be set aside due to flawed design, insufficient notice, and apparent conflict of interest. Schedule another hearing as soon as practicable with another mutually agreed upon architect. Ask friends of the developer to step aside too. Halt construction until resolution of this matter in a fair and impartial, unbiased manner is disposed of, and behave in a manner consistent with frequently stated standard of verities of the Historic Zoning Commission. You said you would protect against speculative designs. We trust you. You said you would assure that new homes that are built are consistent with prevalent architecture. You also said then and only then might we update Belmead together. We believe strongly that not doing so will start us on the slippery slide across Belmead, and who knows where that will lead us. And all I can think about are those tall, skinny homes like the ones in Sylvan Park and Green Hills. Have you all any questions or comments, or I relinquish the chair?
Yes, is there anyone in attendance who is representing the Coates?
The applicant, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, the property owner, is that who you're trying to get to? Yeah, yes, sir. My name's George Dean, attorney here in Nashville, and I represent the property owners today before the board. I take it you'd like me to just give you a few points as to why we don't think the board should rehear it?
Yes.
Let me just say, begin kind of with the obvious point that the commission heard this before, has already ruled on the application. While the board, under certain circumstances, boards retain the right to come back and look at things if they desire to do so. Usually, most boards exercise that power only when there's new evidence which could not have been presented at the original hearing. The reason for that is pretty obvious. Otherwise, you never reach a final decision. People can continue to come back and back and back again. In many places, that is actually codified into the ordinance. I don't know the process very well, but I think that Mr. Patterson sends these notices out the same way the Board of Zoning Appeals notices are sent. Perhaps Lyle could address that, but that's, as I understand it, the Board of Zoning Appeals has an ordinance that requires 5 days notice, and I think that's what was done here. That notice may not be as good as what would be liked by everyone, but I'd also add that it's up on the internet. It's up on the website for the city a couple of weeks, as I understand it, before the hearing takes place, so that interested parties can look at the website and find out that there's something of interest coming up. As you've mentioned yourself, the stormwater doesn't really apply here, but I would like the board to know that my client's been approved by the stormwater management authorities there in Belmead. The building permit actually issued and work has begun under the auspices of that building permit. Footers are already poured. They're not totally installed, but our work is proceeding. Finally, let me just say, as to the conflict of interest, I understand the neighbor's point of view there, but let me say, this is an area of the law that I specialize in. And when you look at the cases, and I'm talking across the country, there is absolutely nothing wrong with a member of a board who has a special expertise over and above what he does with the board to appear before the board, having stepped out of his role as a board member. That's entirely appropriate. It happens oft times. And actually the Stormwater Management Committee over in Metro Nashville, a number of those engineers step off of that board to do similar kinds of things, representing a party before the board. There are only so many stormwater management engineers around. And anyway, for those reasons, we'd ask that the board not reconsider this case and just deny the application. Thank you.
No one should profit from their role on a commission like this.
That's just a clarification question. Is that allowed, Mal?
Go ahead, Ben.
You've already got stormwater approval?
I'm sorry, turn the mic off. Yes, ma'am, that's my understanding. We couldn't have gotten the building permit, I don't believe, without.
That would break all records. Huh, interesting.
Law has record of that.
Yeah, I'll elaborate.
How did you get that so quickly, Lyle?
I'll elaborate on that. We had a pre-con meeting, which I highly recommend to all stormwater engineers. That helps to eliminate about 4 to 5 weeks of review. Mr. Gates requested that pre-con meeting with his engineer. We walked the lot for about an hour and looked at the contours and suggestions made. Then it went into review. I think it was past the 8th of April. And I believe a permit was issued either that day or the next day.
walking the lot gets you stormwater approval?
For a first pre-con meeting, yes. We had one yesterday. It's not unusual. I highly recommend it.
Lyle, this is Alec Wade, 323. As the digging for the foundation progressed, there appeared 2 stone boxes that were laid that directed, it appeared, water coming from downhill. Is this something to do with drainage? Is this something to do with an old foundation? It's 3 feet deep. I was on the board of Belmead Plantation for 20 years. I know a lot about history in Belmead. What is this?
It sounds like, I'm not completely familiar with this, but it sounds like an old septic tank system. I could be wrong on that, but it is not the beginnings of the stormwater plant.
Would you mind just looking at that?
Absolutely.
And this may be completely inappropriate for me to ask, but it's something that bothers me because it's 3 feet below the surface. It's hand laid. There's no concrete. There's nothing else. All the stones are similar size. And it goes right into the basement of this new house.
Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, you're not here to hear.
Yeah.
Recognize
May
you don't.
I interject something?
I'm
I'd like to.
Speaking of the chairman, Sir, I'm speaking to the chairman right now. You get to speak in a second. You're here on whether we hear this matter. So if there's anyone else, Mr. Chairman, I would think it appropriate to ask if anyone else wants to be heard on just simply whether the commission rehears the application. If not, I suggest.
I would like to speak to
Louise?
that.
Louise?
Yes, thank you. This is Louise Bryan, 431 Iroquois. First of all, thank you for your service. It is service as you volunteer your time and expertise in the area of design for the future of Belmead. Your contribution is vital for everything that we're trying to do to Belmead to preserve the elegant, green, and architecturally significant beauty of our community. Your contribution is also subjective, and this is based on your proven experience in design, and citizens like myself trust your conclusions. Your contribution is not to repeat or to remind us what the Board of Zoning Appeals will do or has done. The whole reason Historic Zoning Commission was formed is to be different and separate from Board of Zoning Appeals. That's why Historic Zoning Commission was created. We are trying to be, Historic Zoning Commission was created to be separate from BZA. So if you ever find a chance when you're quoting BZA, I recommend highly that you catch yourself and say, oh, that's actually not the reason I'm here. I'm here because I'm a designer. I have a design eye. I'm not a part of the BZA. The design guidelines include character and compatibility discussed on page 10. 325 Walnut is stunning. It's an English arts and craft design in the idea of Voisey and Lutyens. It has a place in Belmead. We are fortunate to have that kind of quality and that kind of beauty in Belmead. The house as proposed is as tall as it is wide right now. The other houses on that street, which are compatible with that street, are much wider than they are tall. The houses on Walnut, in most cases, are 3 times as wide as they are tall. 328, 313, 305 Walnut. They're all much wider than they are tall. That's the houses on that delicate, beautiful residential street. There are a lot of tall houses in Belmead. And you're right, you can build a tall house in Belmead, right? 40 feet tall. But you're being asked to review whether or not that house belongs on that street between those other 2 houses. 325 as proposed is in the sight line of 2 other homes. But both those homes are within very little distance, okay? The view is not appealing to look at that house between those 2 houses. It's not balanced. It doesn't have a good rhythm. It doesn't have a strong compatibility. We're trying to build a pattern of beauty in Belmead. We're not trying to build cookie cutter houses. Getting back to earlier comments, I agree. That's why the the mid-century modern at 323 is so important that we have other types of styles and designs in Belmead. That's why the Kohler House on Jackson is such a part of the fabric of Belmead. We want other houses as well. I respectfully ask that you reconsider the decision made of 325 Walnut.
Okay, I'd like to speak. It's Jeanette. I think we've delved into the merits of the case, and really what we're deciding right now is whether or not we're going to revisit our decision. And I read the applicant's memorandum concerning this, and I really want to look at it in a procedural way. I looked back through our statute that gives us our power. I did not see anything that allows us to revisit a decision that we've already made. I looked back and saw that the grievances are notice, conflict of interest, and I'm not convinced that proper notice was not given. Spoken to Lyle, he can enumerate on this that notice was given, and I don't agree that having Ron Ferris speak is a conflict of interest. I definitely think, as he recused himself, and that we are all going to be Belmead neighbors, that all of us are going to have a vested interest in these decisions.
When you're finished with that,
and
Jeanette,
hold on one second.
Mr. Chairman,
one at a time. One at a time.
I don't think anything in the application was facts that were not brought to light. In fact, I think most of the problems that the neighborhood sees in this house are height and FAR. And these are things that are decided at a basic level through the Municipal Planning Commission. And you cannot have this body be enforcing things that I think, if there are problems with the FAR and the height restrictions, those things need to go to the MPC, and they need to go to Stormwater and the BZA. But the Historic Zoning Commission is not going to take on all of those issues. We're looking at design only, and not only design on this street. We're looking at design that is compatible with other properties of significance in Belmead. It's not limited, and it does not include every house on the street.
Bunny?
Yes, I would like to say that, first of all, I think we can rehear this, or our city.
Let me make a suggestion right now. Let me make a suggestion right now. You heard from the applicant, you've heard from the landowner. You talked about at the beginning, Mr. Chairman, there would be a limited chance for oral presentation. You have an extensive 15-page brief from the neighbors. I would strongly suggest that before we talk about the powers of the board to rehear matters, which I'm happy to advise you about, that you take no further public comment, and then we'll talk about those issues, Bunny and Jeanette, when we get it before the board. So I think you ought to close off the public comment portion, and I think everybody gets the point being made. And let's talk about, if you want to talk about the Historic Zoning Commission's powers, I'm happy to advise you. So that's what I would recommend to you right now.
Well, the board then will,
I'm happy to make a motion if that helps, Mal.
yes, the board will entertain a motion to rehear the 325 Walnut decision.
I make a motion to rehear the approval of this project for some very serious reasons that have been brought before us.
Is there a second? Gavin?
I just think that, y'all, we need to hear from the citizens. This is who we report to. They're concerned. And if they're—
Mr. Chairman.
Integrity is important.
Get a second.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, what do you do if there is no second?
It fails.
I'm not going to second it. I don't know if Jeanette is or not.
I'm not going to second it. But I would like to hear from.
But I
would like
will
to
make
hear
the
from-
motion to,
Can the chair second? Doug?
Yes, chairman second.
I'll second it.
Now you've got a second. Now you're on discussion or questions for me or whatever you want to talk about.
And so tell us, Doug, is the commission allowed to rehear
In my
cases
opinion,
already decided?
there's nothing in the historic zoning statute, there's nothing in the ordinance that permits the commission to rehear matters. I've always been of the opinion that any public board that performs the function that this one does has the power to rehear matters. Citizens can come petition their government or any right, just like lawyers can go to court and ask the court to rehear something. I do think you ought to limit for policy purposes and both the precedent for this board going forward and for this case, you ought to limit petitions to rehear for situations like the possibility that there's additional evidence that wasn't submitted, that people did not have an opportunity to submit, procedural irregularities or things of that nature that require there to be a rehearing. But it's not something that we've done. I don't think I've seen this in Belmead, maybe one time before the BZA. I myself have done this before the Metro Board of Zoning Appeals, so I know it can be done, but they have a special bylaw about it too, and Mr. Dean is aware. So I do think you've got that authority, but I think it's in a limited number of cases. And typically you're talking about a situation, as I said, where there's new information, that there was not an adequate opportunity to be heard the first time, or for some reason information was concealed or misrepresented. But I think that's a limited category of cases, and one that, honest, as someone pointed out earlier, Mr. Dean perhaps pointed out, maybe Jeanette and Ms. Whitson pointed out, you can't be hearing the same case over and over and over again. So,
right.
So So I do think you have the power to hear it.
Can we hear from Lyle as to what the notice was for this?
Sure.
But before we get to that, Ms. Woodson, just let me say on the notice, there's no requirement in either the ordinance or state law that there be direct mail notice. There was direct mail notice given in this case, and there's notice on the website, sort of what I would call publication notice. And that's the notice that we've been giving. And honestly, in the other cases this commission has heard, I've not seen that to be a problem, but that, for what it's worth. Now let Lyle address. I apologize for interrupting, but I just want to make sure everybody.
No problem.
The cutoff day for submittal is 15 days prior to the meeting, which would have been February 22nd. I make the agenda the next day, which would have been February 23rd. I'm holding in my hand the notice went out February 25th, 13 days prior. That notice goes out to the contiguous neighbors. It's also posted on our website and in our newsletter. So it's adequate notification.
Can I ask a question? I don't know who, so they said that, first of all, the integrity of this committee to be objective I think is extremely important. And I think perception is extremely important. My concern is if it appears that there's a conflict of interest, and if the citizens on that street want to be heard again, and I want to know more about where the conflict of interest is. I understand from Ron because he's the architect and he presented it, but he didn't vote. But someone said there were other conflicts too. I know it's not me because I don't know the developer. I don't know owner or anything, but that's concerning to me. Because
Well,
protection is very important, and our integrity, and I think every one of us, I don't want any citizen in Belmead thinking that things are being pushed through because of relationship. And if there's any relationship that we're unaware of, close friendships or something with this, I think that this board should be made aware of it.
Bunny, it was in the letter that we received, and I think a claim that people are friends with the builder, I mean, people have friends everywhere. We're all in Belmead. We all live here together. I don't think that you're not allowed to speak. I don't know the builder, but I just think the only conflict that is a valid issue is Ron. And we went back and looked at how that was handled, and it was handled appropriately. He recused himself and did not vote, and we all accepted that. I don't think that we can say that if you're a member of the board, then you cannot work professionally on any property in Belmead. That's not a requirement, in law or here. I think, we can be objective, and I think we've raked Ron over the coals before on some of his projects. And he doesn't get an easy pass.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say I would look at the house the same way. I mean, I came into it fresh. I looked at the proportions, and we made requests for shutters on the side that faces Linwood, and they even, brought down some of the height. So I looked at it as fresh as I could in the light of proportions, scale, the style. So I don't know if my opinion would have changed in any way.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I'd like to add that I have letters in support of this house from some neighbors on Walnut. So not everyone on Walnut is opposed to this, as has been led to believe.
Oh, who was the letter from then?
I've been asked not to reveal in order to drive a wedge between the neighbors.
So some
I think that's
neighbors,
legitimate, Lyle. I mean, if somebody's going to present a letter and we're told there's a letter, but we can't know who it's from.
Well, I'll ask their permission. But they asked me not to reveal.
well, you're saying an approval. I'm asking the letter that was submitted to us that we all read, that was representing the neighbors of Walnut. Is that 100% the neighbors of Walnut? I guess I want a clarification on that.
No, apparently it is
The
not.
public portion is closed, sorry. It's just the four of us.
I
So,
was just asking Lyle.
Mr. Chair, did you want me to answer that?
please.
Apparently it is not 100% of Walnut. No.
And I don't have it in front of me now. So is there a list of signatures underneath that, or?
No, there is not.
Well, is there any more discussion group among us, or should we call for the vote? Okay, Bunny,
So I would vote aye.
Gavin,
I guess that's a nay for me. How do you do that? Nay.
yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And Jeanette,
To review it? This is just a motion.
to rehear it.
My answer is no.
Mal votes to rehear it. So the motion fails and the House proceeds as approved last time.
So a tie fails.
Yes. Well, Ron's recused, and it takes 3 votes to send it forward.
Thank you,
So,
Mr. Chairman.
A tie fails. Thank you everyone. Know it was tough. We'll try to do better.
We adjourning?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.